So we're taking a look at a piece of software that has this simple, almost childlike charm. It's super colorful, it's cute, and it honestly looks like it was designed just for fun. But is it only a toy, or can it be a powerful creative tool? Let's find out.
I mean, seriously, with its pixelated characters and this bright, simple interface, you might think you've opened up a retro game, not a music production tool. And that whole aesthetic, it's totally intentional. It's meant to be inviting and not intimidating at all. And that's the real question, isn't it? Can a program that looks this simple actually be powerful enough for real music creation? Is it just a cute little novelty, or is there a serious engine hiding underneath all that charm? To find out, we're going to follow the journey of a music producer who decided to put this thing to the ultimate test. He took one of his own already existing kind of complex songs and tried to rebuild it from the ground up entirely inside the world of Lovely Composer. So what exactly is this program? It's called Lovely Composer, and right from the get-go, it's pretty clear what it's all about. The official description really says it all. It's designed to capture the feeling of making music on a classic game console. The whole point is to make creating that 8-bit chiptune music, that classic synthesized video game sound, easy and accessible for pretty much anyone. And it's priced to be accessible too. We're talking just $7.50. At that price, it's basically an impulse buy for anyone who's even a little bit curious about making retro-style music. It comes from a Japanese developer called 100 Games, and they're known for their pixel art style. It runs on Windows and Linux-based systems, including the Steam Deck. Now, the producer we're following made a comparison that I think is just perfect. It really feels like Mario Paint, but for making songs. So what's it like when you first fire it up? Our producer just started clicking around, getting a feel for placing notes and chords. And almost immediately he checked for what is arguably the single most important feature for any creative software: undo. He found it, and you can practically feel the relief. It's a small thing, sure, but having that standard Control-Z shortcut just working makes the program instantly feel more serious. So that initial experience was a bit of a mixed bag. Standard things like copy and paste worked exactly like you'd expect, which was awesome. But then he ran into these little oddities, like the eraser tool, which seemed to activate way far away from where the cursor was actually pointing. It's those little design quirks that really define the experience. Okay, now for the real test. I mean, it's one thing to place a few notes here and there, but recreating a full song? That means you're going to push the software to its absolute limits and find out where it starts to break. And a huge hurdle popped up really early. The original song had this smooth, sliding vocal effect, what musicians call a pitch bend. But after digging through all the tools, there was just no obvious way to create that sound. The software seemed totally locked to a super rigid musical grid. And this really gets to the heart of the frustration. Music so often lives in those little spaces between the beats, right? But Lovely Composer forces every single note to snap perfectly to the grid. There was just no easy way to add that human, imperfect feel. But instead of just giving up, our producer started experimenting. He dug through the instrument list and found something called the glide triangle. Now, it wasn't a pitch bend tool, but what it did was simulate the effect by sliding from one note to the next. It was this really clever workaround that was born directly from that limitation. So, after hours of work, what's the final verdict? Well, if we combine our producer's experience with feedback from a bunch of other users, we can get a really clear picture of this software's pros, cons, and all its little quirks. Okay, on the pro side, it's undeniably fun, it's super easy to pick up, and that cute aesthetic is genuinely inspiring. It's even got some really helpful features like autosave, chord building tools, and over 50 sample songs to learn from. But the cons are pretty significant for serious work. You're limited to just 4 instrument tracks. That's it. There's that off-grid note problem we just saw, and then there are just plain strange quirks, like other users pointing out there isn't even a new file button. You have to copy and paste an existing file just to start a new project. The producer's single biggest request was for just one more track dedicated specifically to drums. In most music, drums are layered with multiple sounds. You've got a kick, a snare, a hi-hat. Here, you have to cram all of your drums onto one of your 4 precious tracks, which you can imagine severely limits what you can do with your melodies and harmonies. All right, so let's pull all of this together. We've seen the charm, we've seen the challenges, and we've seen the workarounds. So the final question is, who is Lovely Composer actually for? It's clearly not for every musician, but for a very specific type of creator, this tool could be exactly what they're looking for. It really excels in certain areas where more complex software can just feel overwhelming.
So, who is this for? Well, it's perfect for absolute beginners who just want to make sounds without a huge learning curve. It's a fantastic tool for indie game developers who need to quickly create authentic retro sound effects. And of course, it's a dream for chiptune fans. Heck, even for experienced producers, it can be a wonderful, simple little sketchpad to just jot down ideas before moving them to a bigger program.
And that is really the best way to think about it. Lovely Composer isn't trying to be a professional digital audio workstation. It's a playground, it's a sandbox for your musical ideas, and it's designed to be fun and inspiring above all else. And this leaves us with a final thought. Our producer couldn't find a pitch bend, so he was forced to use that glide instrument instead. He had to find a new solution. And it makes you wonder, can creative limits actually end up making you more creative?